Hello and good evening. Welcome, everybody. Today, I've got a very exciting stream for us to start the new year with a bit of fun, a bit of competition, and a good game. I have with me a couple of guests and some other special ones in a few moments. But first, let me introduce the theme of tonight's show. Uh, some of you will recognize this format from 6 or 7 months ago, but it's been updated. And here's a little video to tell you what it is.
It's my podcast. 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 It's my podcast, and I want it.
Yes, it is the Tolkien Grand Quiz. Last time we had the Lord of the Rings one, we used Trivial Pursuit, and Apostolic Majesty won that. But I felt the questions were a little bit too easy for him. So this time I have written my own questions using the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, the Silmarillion, and lots of other sources as well. And returning to defend his title, well, it is...
Now, say my name.
Apostolic Majesty.
You're goddamn right.
No pressure then.
No pressure at all. Hello, Elfwine the Mariner. How are you doing?
All right, I'm seeing how many Tolkien-related characters I can circle around who have AM in their names.
You had a Saruman one before, I remember.
Mm. But this time the acronym is actually AM, so...
You're going up. You're improving. Stream by stream. Did you have a good holidays?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. And competing for the title is Black Horse. Welcome, Black Horse. How are you doing?
Well, I feel like I'm at a structural disadvantage without an intro video. So, I'm feeling embittered from the start.
It's prejudiced against you, is it?
Yeah, well, if there were judges, I would claim I would be campaigning for a mistrial, but we'll see.
Well, I'm the judge, I'm afraid. I did actually have one for you, but I got copyright struck the last time I played it. So
really? Oh,
yeah. So I'm sorry about that. Maybe we could sneak it in right at the end, if you will. Did you have a good holidays?
I had a great Christmas. We've got kids, 18 months, 4 and 6, and so they're right at the age where they're really excited for Christmas. So they had just a tremendous time. So that was great, and we got to see the whole family, which was nice.
That's very nice. Yeah. There's something about when little kids really appreciate the magic of it and the spirit of it, I think.
Yeah, my kids, there's infinite energy and excitement for things like this. And so it is not in my nature to get kind of festive about anything, but, kids really pull you into it. So it's great.
Even the Black Horse gets pulled into Christmas. That is an inspiring message for everybody. Well, today we are going to be playing the Tolkien quiz, and I didn't realize this until earlier today, but it's actually Tolkien's birthday today, so it's even more apt than I first thought.
Well, it's also the anniversary of the first Tolkien Day as well. This time last year, you and I were prepping and putting out a whole series of videos, so it seems quite relaxing not having to do that this year. But nice to be commemorating Tolkien in some way.
And a nice change in that front. And even more so, I just saw that the Royal Mint have just put this coin out, actually.
Oh, very cool.
So my thought is, whoever wins this, if I can find a cheap enough version, I will give them one of these. So yeah, you have a monetary prize that you didn't even expect, a £2 coin. What
There
more
you
could you
go.
want?
Well, it's going to cost you more than £2 to send it to Canada when I win. So
Oh, fighting talk. I'm really counting on you here, Apostolic Majesty. I'm really counting on it.
So it's me or impoverishment. Oh dear. Okay.
So yes, how it's going to work, everybody, is we have 6 rounds. Each player will get 5 rounds. We have our 2 challengers here, Black Horse and Apostolic Majesty. But last time we had the chat playing, and I've gone for a bit of a twist. So I looked at who was answering the questions really well last time, and I've managed to form a group, the champions of the chat. One of them will be playing each round on behalf of the chat, and so they will be going up against our 2 main guests. Can the chat overcome? Can the trucks win? Can there be a revolution? We shall see. So our first member of the chat, champion of the chat, is Ragnarok. Hello, Ragnarok. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Nathan. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's good to have you here. And why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your channel and so on? Because some people might not know who you are.
I just run a little Let's Play channel called Rag Plays, and I've been kind of kicking around in various of all of these good people's chats, AM's chat in particular, and Nathan's, his comment section. So you might see me in there from time to time. Other than that, just happy to be here and happy to go against these titans of Tolkien knowledge. Hope I can do my fellow Truck High justice.
Truck Eye. I like it. Born for one purpose, to destroy Black Horse and Apostolic Majesty. So without further ado, let's get into the quiz. And the first round is names. And the 5 questions each. So I'm going to start with Apostolic Majesty as the title holder, and we'll go from there. So, Apostolic Majesty, can you name both of Frodo's parents?
Gosh, I can't actually, come to think of it. So I'm going to have to forfeit this question. Already I'm off to a good start.
Great start. It doesn't count for any points, but do either of you know?
Drogo is his father. I'm trying to remember his mother. Pramila, I think.
You are right.
Took. Yeah, she was a took.
Yeah, she's the one who drowned in the river, right?
Yeah, they both drowned together. They were in a boat, and there was lots of rumors about it in the pub, I think, right at the beginning of the
Yes.
Fellowship.
Yes.
Like, was it murder, or was he just so fat that he sunk the boat? I think that's.
There's no talk of pushing and pulling. Boats are trouble enough on their own.
Exactly. Never go near a boat.
I think Black Horse definitely deserves a point there. I think if I'm going to pass them off, I think anyone who
No,
gets it definitely
there's
deserves a
no
point.
stealing, I'm afraid, this time, AM, and
Oh, dear.
that's on purpose because I didn't want the last time, because of the delay with the chat, it was impacting it. So this time every person gets their own questions.
Now, do we lose points if we get the wrong answer? That's something I was wondering.
There's no losing points either.
Okay, not like the last time.
And in answer to your question, Zachary, you can answer, but it doesn't count towards anything because you have representatives this time. You have people on your side. So play along if you want.
For you.
Okay, so Black Horse.
Okay.
Beregond was a guard of the citadel in Minas Tirith, charged with training Peregrine Took. But what was the name of Beregond's son, who showed Pippin the city?
Oh, jeez. Baragond, I think. No, it was a totally different name.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to take your first answer there.
That's all right.
It was Burgil.
Burgil, okay.
Yeah, he surprisingly has a huge amount of pages for somebody who never appears again.
Yeah, he's got all that interaction where he shows them the city. They watch the
Mhm.
companies come in. It's a whole thing.
What Peter Jackson missed out is a travesty. Okay, Ragnarok. This is your first question.
All right.
The main villain in Arda in the first age is Melkor or Morgoth. What is his other name in Sindarin, and what does it mean in English?
Other name in Sindarin. Isn't it Bauglir? And what does it mean in Sindarin or in English? I don't know. I don't have that one.
Do either of you two know what it means?
I believe Bauglir is correct, but he's
I-
given. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think I might have had it. Wasn't it? It wasn't enemy. No, I don't think it's enemy, but that's what I would have said. Dark enemy or something like that.
You're close. So it is Balglir, but it means tyrant.
Uh,
So Morgoth the tyrant. Well, so far we've nil from nil for everybody. I'm
Good
pleased
show.
with that result. I'm pleased. So Apostolic Majesty, to get us off the mark, who was the wise woman who helped Aragorn as a healer after the Battle of the Pelennor Fields?
Gosh, I really should know this. I think you probably chose the perfect evening for this. I mentioned before coming on that I sort of feel like Denethor, like I was doomed before starting for some reason. I had this great this great sort of cloud coming over me, the anticipation and the horror, and I think I'm just going to fly back into the tomb and throw myself onto the pyre. But no, I don't know the answer to that one.
You see, this is your unyielding northern courage in the face of overwhelming odds. You still turned up. Much credit for that. Either of you two know this question, the answer to this question.
I missed the question. Can you repeat it?
Oh, it was who was the wise woman who helped Aragorn as a healer after the Battle of the Pelennor Fields?
Oh, I don't know that. I don't know her name.
I knew it last night. She was an old woman.
Mhm.
It was only like one name. There was no last name or anything like that. I don't know what it is
And
anymore.
befitting of an old woman, she talks on and on.
Yes. Again, another character that was so dear to the trilogy. Yoreth.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how he spends so much time on kind of irrelevant characters. It kind of, I don't know, it's quite nice.
Especially in the Return of the King, I find.
I feel like he definitely knew this person in real life.
Well, I think part of it is to create the impression in the reader that Gondor is something worth saving, right? So, especially with the little kid that shows Mary around the Citadel, like there's the definitive creation before the battle of like real stakes. It's a great narrative device.
That's true. And my favorite bit though is when she keeps just like yapping on, and Aragorn and Gandalf both tell her off.
Yes,
It's just like wonderful. Go and find the plant. Don't stand there. So Black Horse. Beyond Elrond, Glorfindel, and Legolas, name an elf who played a prominent role in the Council of Elrond.
So beyond Elrond, Glorfindel, and who else was the third one?
Legolas.
Does Elrond's half-elven son, count?
No. I don't think he was there.
He was. He is sent out as a scout later, but he meets with Aragorn during the feast the previous night, and then attends the council along with Elrond's other son. But who else as an elf because there's somebody else from the Woodland Realm who comes, but it's not the king. I don't know the names of the other 2 elves that come.
Well, yeah. I didn't realize that Elros attended, so I would be happy to give you that if the other 2 are happy with that.
It's fine by me.
Absolutely fine.
Okay, we have
Galdor was one of them, wasn't he?
Yes, Galdor and Eristor.
That's the other one I couldn't remember.
We are the other 2. Which in the film, Eristor's played by Brett from Flight of the Conchords, which I think is an amazing thing. And I think he has a line in like The Return of the King where they're going to the Grey Ships and the Grey Havens, and he's like to Arwen, "What's wrong, my lady?" or something like that. Probably his best role ever.
There you go.
So Ragnarok. Which dark elf kidnapped Adadhel Ardfiniel, sister to King Turgon of Gondolin?
Ale.
Well done. That is a point to you. So, AM. What was the name of Eredil's son?
Of Eredil. Again, I almost feel like forfeiting these in advance. I knew the answer. I knew answers to the 2 previous questions, unfortunately, but not this one. Again, I'm going to have to forfeit, and as this goes along, I'm going to find less funny ways of forfeiting as well.
Okay, much appreciated. His son was Maeglin.
Oh, yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and
Absolute
he
asshole.
Yeah, he helps to bring about the destruction of Gondolin.
Well, I should remember that, shouldn't I? Because you and I had a lengthy tangent about that when we covered the fall of Gondolin. So clearly, my mind has just completely collapsed.
I always
this evening.
find it fascinating. The fall of Gondolin was like one of the first things Tolkien wrote. So apparently, like the Silmarillion is written like radically out of order, and the fall of Gondolin is apparently the first narrative of the Silmarillion that he wrote, and he wrote and rewrote it like at least a dozen times. So, anyways, I always find that interesting.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this, but some of Tolkien's stories are rather derivative. So I feel that when one is writing myth, what's the first thing you go to? You tend to go to the fall of Troy. So the fall of Troy over and over and over again. I mean, there are obviously other influences that
fall of Antioch,
also Jerusalem that Nathan and I have gone into, but yes, it's a staple of mythology. The fall of the White City, the fall of the Great City before the apocalypse, and the destruction of the temple, etc.
and always the betrayer as well.
Yes,
the one who gives them up.
Well, and it very much speaks to Tolkien's whole mindset, I suppose, that he lives through an age where he, the world around him says it's progress, and in his view, it's decline and decay everywhere, especially as seen in the World Wars and returning home. And I guess the Scouring of the Shire is it's a kind of fall of Gondolin in its own way.
Well, there are other allusions to it as well, such as you obviously have the Kingdom of Prester John, but I've been reading a lot about the potential Wagner opera which never was, The Victors, and the basis of this is that you have Lohengrin, you have Parsifal, and it's supposed to culminate with the story of the Victors, where you finally go off into the land far away, which is supposed to be the Grail Kingdom. So I feel that there is an allusion with Turgon and the story of Gondolin to the hidden kingdom of the Grail and all these other aspects of deep mythology there. But yeah.
Oh, I have to share this with you, AM. You have to indulge me. I got some money for Christmas, and I used it to buy up. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Roger Scruton's commentary on the Ring Cycle, and for the first time ever, I watched Das Rheingold today, and it just blew my mind away. But I was more and more convinced of what you said in the streams, that Tolkien was definitely influenced by it. in very strong ways.
Well, you couldn't help to not be, though, because I mean,
Mhm.
in terms of the sort of intellectual setting, especially as a Germanic philologist,
Yeah.
the idea that someone writing in the 1920s and 1930s would have no idea about Wagner, when everyone from the Kaiser of Germany to
Mm.
Karl Marx was.
Well, it would be like you or I writing mythology and saying we weren't influenced by Tolkien. Like,
Yes, I know, it's just as preposterous.
Well, I'm inspired now. So I hopefully over this year, my aim is to have a number of discussions on Wagner and the Ring Cycle. So hopefully that will come to fruition, because I think it'll. I was really surprised when you go on YouTube. There's very little detailed analysis of it, but
no,
there's so
almost
much
none.
there. Yeah, but there's so much to get into, and I think particularly from our kind of perspective, I think it's very interesting.
Well, I've been holding off doing a very, very long series on Wagner for a very, very long time. And the only thing that's preventing me from doing it is the fact that I'm not musical.
Mm,
I don't play an instrument. I can't sort of add anything to that discussion, even though, as you can obviously understand, Wagner is much more than the music. The music is simply a means of conveying. But I feel until I don't know, I remedy that to some degree. I'm not quite sure how. Then, yes, I can't really feel that I have any sort of authority or any means of talking about Wagner. It's a subject which I'm very trepidatious to sort of to wander
mm,
down. I don't really know why, because I've talked about Wagner on streams which aren't Wagner at this point. Probably, every other stream you and I
mm.
are on, we end up talking about Wagner. So clearly, I do talk about him, just not in the proper format.
Well, maybe one day we'll get round to it. Maybe we'll see. Black Horse, I believe it was your question next.
I think so. Yeah.
Which woman had a dialogue with Finrod Felagund?
Finrod Felagund. Okay. So
And this isn't in the Silmarillion. It's in the histories.
Oh, jeez. I'm defeated.
You're defeated. Do either of you two know?
No chance.
AM.
I think I'm thinking about the wrong conversation, so I'm going to forfeit.
Well, it is Andreth, and
What's the context here?
yeah. So she's a it's quite an early conversation in the history of Middle Earth, and basically it's a place where Tolkien outlines essentially the elvish and human philosophy on life, and how they understand Morgoth's evil, creation, providence, and salvation. And Andreth even conveys that in the future of Middle Earth, it is the humans' belief that Iluvatar will become incarnate and save humanity, which very much fixes it within our current world history.
Yeah.
Which part of the histories is this?
Oh,
Because the histories is 12 volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I haven't read. So.
Let me see. I need to look up my references. 1 second.
Might it be in the Lost Tales Part 2, maybe?
I'll get it up. I had to write an article on this at some point, so I do have a reference somewhere.
You wrote an article on that? For
Yeah.
what?
I was doing it on the idea of the Felix Culpa, so the happy fault in Christian theology,
Right. Okay.
and how Tolkien, essentially, if you read the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Ring, well, more the Silmarillion, it is a kind of happy fault idea throughout.
Well, it was interesting, isn't it? Because you and I have discussed how in the Silmarillion there isn't anything explicit when it comes to the Trinity and applying a Trinitarian concept to Eru Ilúvatar. There are hints of it. And obviously we talk about the redemptive man. Of course, the closest thing is Elendil. So it's an interesting thought, but obviously incomplete. And as the Silmarillion is incomplete, it's a shame, isn't it, that we don't have a complete mythology. We can only have these pieces.
Yeah, indeed. And I just found it, but Ting Fang has also found it. It's in Morgoth's Ring, so Volume 10, Part 4. Can you see that? That one there. Yeah, so it's although it's a kind of obscure passage, it's the one that most of the scholars seem to use all the time. So it's quite an important one. So I'd recommend everybody, if you get the chance, have a wee read of it. Ragnarok, it is your turn. So, yes, what was Grima Wormtongue's father called?
Oh, I don't know.
Go for a guess. Give it a guess.
Let's see. I don't know. This is a wild guess. Gramir, something like that.
It isn't Gramir.
No,
It's a good try.
I knew it wasn't. It was just random name I pulled out.
Any other shouts? Go ahead.
Glam something? Glamod?
You're so close. It's Galmod.
Okay.
It's Galmod. Yeah. I've got super fascinated into the history of Grima Wormtongue recently, and
How much is there in of that?
there's not loads. There's quite a bit in the histories of Middle Earth, because there's different. He's more important in older drafts.
Oh, okay.
But in the Lord of the Rings, there's not very much.
There's also, that sort of covers your question about Maeglin as well, doesn't it? Because Maeglin is the Grima Wormtongue of the Fall of Gondolin, so I'm definitely seeing a pattern.
What does it say about my psyche that I relate to these characters the most?
You relate
next
to
question.
The next question will be on Judas Iscariot.
Yeah. Which what does History of Middle Earth Volume 3 explicitly reference as the Judas Iscariot insert character into the Silmarillion, which was never utilized in any of the formats?
I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to rewrite these questions. It's probably I might as well confess now, I have a stream in a couple of weeks' time which is all about Grima Wormtongue. So this is this is revealing. I am ashamed. AM, your question. Who carried Aragorn's standard at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields?
Again, I should know these questions. I have to confess that what I found remarkable about the last time I did this, I'm actually very much lacking in confidence when it comes to these sort of quizzing things. So if I don't have a definitive answer in my head, I'm always likely to surrender before I am to sort of probe at it. I'm afraid. So I'm going to opt to forsake that one again. I'm sorry.
Well, it's got to be Halbarad, or however you say his name, the leader of the Great Company, isn't it?
Yeah, Halbrand.
That's right. Yeah, it was Halbarad.
It's Arwen's standard that she gave to.
Yeah, the only other choice would have been one of Elrond's sons, but anyways.
Yeah. So and again, he was I find he's probably one of the few characters that I feel they ought to have tried to include in the trilogy. I know it might have been a bit tricky, but I felt it was important having the Grey Company represented in some way with Aragorn, kind of connecting him to an actual place and not just as a general universal hero.
Would have been nice if they put the section in where he gathered the allies in Belfast and all the other places along the way, instead of just having the Ghost Army.
Yeah, we talked about this when we had the stream on the adaptation. Okay. I hate the Ghost Army with every fiber of my being.
Yes, it kind of undermines the whole thing. But yeah, don't worry, I don't think there's any questions about them in this. But speaking of which, Black Horse, who was the Serpent Lord?
You mean the king of Harad?
Uh-huh. Yep.
You're looking for a name, I assume.
Yes.
I don't know.
This is Suladan.
Oh, like
not-
Saladin.
Yeah, not a very subtle reference there. The Eastern general.
Yeah, I saw Kamul in the chat, but that's a low IQ response. Kamul is clearly an Easterling, not from from Herod.
BTFO'd.
It's obvious because Kabul is in the east, therefore it's Easterling.
Yeah, let's not go down this road because there's many people who are doing race studies of Tolkien at the moment who love this sort of material. Ragnarok. What was the name of Errol the Young's horse?
Ooh. I don't know. I read about it last night when I looked through the histories of Rohan and the genealogies, but no, I don't have it. I couldn't even guess.
Felaroth, father of the Miras.
Yeah.
So we're moving into the final question of this round now, and there is a good chance of getting more points for this question. You'll see why in a second. So, AM, name the 14 members of the company in each character.
Sorry, you chopped there. Can you repeat?
Oh yeah, so Apostolic Majesty, name the 14 members of the company in The Hobbit, not including Gandalf. And you get half a point for each of these names.
Okay. We have Thorin Oakenshield. We have Balin. We have Fili. We have Fori. And for some reason, I can't pronounce the others. Even though I really, again, like all of these sort of things, I really should know. They're on the tip of my tongue. So I'm just going to take the 2 points and say it's victory.
Is there no one else that you can think of?
In terms of the company Sans Gandalf, obviously there's Bilbo. But like I said, I for some reason I'm being very pusillanimous today.
Oh well, okay. Well, I'm gonna, because half points won't really work. I'm gonna round you up to 3. But the others were Dwalin, Killy, Oin Gloin, Dori Nori, Biffa Boffa Bomber were the other dwarves. I always wondered, is this supposed to be like Jacob's sons? 13 sons. Is that the idea?
Well, I can't remember exactly which
They're not all
source it
related,
was.
though.
But I remember reading it in Tom Shippey, but there is one of the sagas, and the names are just taken directly from it.
Okay.
That there's no invention whatsoever, and someone reading it can be quite horrified because, again, it wasn't meant to be a published work. It was supposed to be a children's story for his children, not as a children's story. It was never meant to be published. So he simply, again, I forget which saga it was, but he simply went. Yes, and Vingel says they're all in the Voluspa, which is the most famous of all the sagas, and just took the names directly from there.
Okay. So the other reason why I think there could be a Israel reference is Tolkien did say that dwarves are based on certain Jewish traits,
Right, but remember the 7 fathers of the dwarves are not represented in the company, right? They're all from the kindred of
Durin.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a perfect parallel, but if you think like the exiles coming back to their land, to the promised land.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe I know I'm pushing it.
I always thought of them as just kind of a mercenary company, just a group of retainers around Thorin. I didn't think too much into the other stuff that it could have been.
Probably the best way to read The Hobbit, to be fair. Uh, Black Horse. Name the 7 sons of Fëanor, and you get a point for each of them.
Sons of Fëanor?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's definitely Maglor. No. Maglor's not. No. The one who gets his hand burned. Oh, jeez. Okay, so the Sons of Fëanor are the ones who have their downfall. They've got the kingdoms in Finrod is not one of the Sons of Fëanor. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to give you Maglor because he is one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he's got his buddy. So one casts the Silmaril into the sea, the other casts it into the fire. Maglor and Meglin, I think. But I'm defeated. There's no.
So Maeglin was Eorl's son.
It's interesting, Nathan, because I haven't read or seen The Hobbit in a very long time, but because I have not read the Silmarillion, I actually remember more of the names. Maedhros,
That's
obviously.
Right,
yeah. Curufin, who was the ancestor of Celebrimbor, and there's also Amrod and Amras, and I think there's another couple of them, but I can't remember.
Celegorm and Caranthir. Yeah.
Caranthir was the worst of the bunch, I think. Maybe
they all have tragedies too, and do they not?
And Maedhros was the best of them, I would say, but they're all kind of they're not good people at the end of it.
But how much is it their fault, and how much is it their father's sins being passed on?
Well, they took the oath too with their father, though.
True.
Well, they took under the curse.
Fëanor's Son's Redemption arc. Next series of Rings of Power.
I think it was who was it? Maglor came so close to redemption, so close. He was almost at the very end. He was not going to try and take the Silmaril from, I think it was Elwë, or not Elwing, sorry.
Yeah, and then he ends up,
sacking the city. And
I feel like there's some middle points in between he could have gone to.
Sacking the city, not doing it. And who's the one who steals the dwarvish necklace from the Nogrim?
Oh, Thingol.
Okay, that's Thingol, and then it's later. Okay.
So to finish off this round, Ragnarok, name the 7 lords of the Valar. So the male Valar, excluding Melkor. He doesn't count within the 7.
Okay, so Aule, Manwë, Namo, which is Mandos, Orome. What am I up to right now?
You've got 4.
Tulkas, Lorien, and Ulmo.
7 out of 7. Well done. So that leaves us at the end of the round. If I can get these scores saved up. So let me share my screen. So in first place, we have the champions of the chat with 8 points. And then Apostolic Majesty with 3 points, with the getting back in there with the Hobbit, and Black Horse with 3 points. So it's all to play for. There's a lot to play for in this next round. So we're going to say goodbye to Ragnarok for a little bit, and you'll be coming back on soon.
Bye, everyone.
Cheerio. And in this round, we are adding in our next champion, which is Vingle. Hello, Vingle. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Great to have you on. Thank you for joining. Many people will have seen you about in various comment sections because you seem to be a moderator in almost every chat. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? And I know you've got a YouTube channel as well, so just say a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I live in I am Norwegian, and I run a small channel. I just post folk music mostly and a bit of historical stuff from time to time. I can perhaps say more about that later. And yeah, I don't think there's a lot to tell really in this context, but I think I first encountered Tolkien at maybe 8 or 9 years of age when I read The Hobbit. So, but I don't know. I feel I'm slightly nervous with these preceding questions so far, but we'll see if I can defend the glory of the chat.
I'm sure you can, and it's nice to talk to you and have you on. It's a real privilege. So
Thank you.
we're moving now to the theme of characters and their actions. So I'm asking questions about what did a character do or who did this sort of thing. And I'm going to start with Vingle as the champions are leading at the moment. So kind of like in golf, So Vingle, in what form did Elwing appear to Edendil after the third kinslaying?
She appeared in the form of a swan.
Well done.
Yeah, I'll accept. It's a large white bird. It doesn't say swan, but I will accept that answer.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The other suggestions have been an albatross, which would tie it in with the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner by
I
Coleridge.
suppose perhaps I thought of the swan because of the swan ships of the Teleri. But I seem to recall that it was specifically that. But okay, yeah, she flew and met him when he returned with the ship.
Yes.
Another interpretation I had was that of the dove as well.
The water over the dove hovering over the water, I guess. Okay. Black Horse. When defeated by Luthien, into what form does Sauron transform to effect his escape?
A bat.
Yes, a vampire bat. A vampire bat, which I believe is one of the only references to vampires in.
Yeah, he's on the island. He's on the island of the vampires. It's the only place vampires appear. There's no expansion.
See, it was just dying for like a horror story to be told, right?
Well,
Lovecraftian, but
and he's there the whole time, and they don't say anything about like they go to the island of the vampires. They struggle with Sauron, but the vampires never come into the story.
Lost opportunity.
Yeah.
Somebody has to write that fan fiction.
Well, when Amazon bought the rights and decided to make Rings of Power, there's like a million of these just like partly formed stories you could actually tell. And instead.
In fairness to Amazon, I can't believe I'm doing this. Amazon only have the rights to the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me, I do have an idea for a stream one day, and I'm going to organize it. There's a lot of people who criticize the Rings of Power, but I thought it'd be more interesting to get a bunch of people together and give them a month, let's say, and say, okay, using what Amazon had, using the appendices of the Lord of the Rings, come up with your own series and present it and talk about it. I think that would be a really cool stream to do someday.
I'd love to do that stream. That'd be fun.
It'd be good fun, and I feel as well like the criticisms have been done to death, and often it can be very not unwarranted, but there's a very cynical kind of exploitative YouTube scene on the kind of videos and like movie criticism and things.
Well,
much more productive to kind of
I mean, one of the
develop
failures of
something.
one of the failures of the dissident movement is its failure to create good art that's authentically its own, right? And criticism is not art.
No, that's the problem. So having a better version, like how would we build on Tolkien, would be a much more fruitful thing. So look out for that in the future. I'll be in touch, folks. So Absolute Majesty. Before writing the Akallabeth, Tolkien was regularly troubled by a dream of a great wave towering up and advancing over the fields, engulfing all. To which character did he bequeath this dream in The Lord of the Rings?
Again, it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming over like a wave. Again, I'm going to forfeit. I'm very sorry. I'm being very boring this evening.
It's okay. It's okay. Anybody else? Well, it is Faramir.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. Because anyways.
Well, and Tolkien, I think he said as well in one of his letters that he most saw himself in Faramir. So I wonder if that's why he gave him that dream.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Numenor and the whole way that Numenor was introduced is as a device of framing the whole story of the Silmarillion. And I believe it was originally going to be Elendil himself, that there was some sort of link between the various ages and aspects of reincarnation, and Tolkien was one of these Numenorian characters. So therefore it only seems appropriate, as it was Tolkien's dream, that it is an equivalent of the character who is closest to that spirit of Numenor, who is Faramir.
That's a good point. I guess that would have been in the time travel novel that he never wrote.
The Lost Road. Yeah.
Another project to complete someday. When it all goes out of copyright, it's going to be a field day. Give it 30 years or so. So, Vingal, how does Luthien defeat Morgoth?
Defeat Morgoth?
Yeah, so when she's in the presence of Morgoth in the Quenta.
Oh, sorry. She sings to make him fall asleep.
That is correct, yes.
Whereupon, okay. Good.
Well done.
It is a trick question. He's asleep. He is not defeated.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly expelled to the outer realms or whatever just yet, but okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad.
I could see there's going to be hermeneutical battles over the meanings of words I'm using here.
No, I think causing him to be incapacitated is a fine definition of defeat. Not a total defeat, maybe, but definitely a defeat.
He certainly didn't want to lose that Silmarillion, so yeah.
Yes. So, Black Horse, here's a question for you, and I hope the words have the right meaning this time. What did Fredger Fatty Bolger do during Sharky's rule of the Shire?
What did Fatty Boulder do?
This is deep lore.
This is deep lore. Okay.
But it is in the Return of the King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry. I think he gets thrown into the prison. Is that right?
Yes, it is right. It is right. And do you know why he got thrown in? I'm going to give you the point anyway.
Too much food.
ate up the supplies. No, he actually led a resistance band
Oh, really?
against the
Okay.
Ruffians, which I think is so epic. Like, I want to see that episode in the TV series. You know, of the like Fatty Volga leading the armed uprising.
Is this the origin of this quiz today? Your unreleased script for the Lord of the Rings TV series?
Featuring Galmud, father of Grim the Wormtongue, and Fatty Volga's terrorist organization. Yes.
Yes, Freddy
But-
Freddy Garbolga, the unsung hero of the Hobbits.
Mhm. Oh, definitely. Never mind the proud feet.
Proud foots.
So, Apostolic Majesty, why did Huron slay the dwarf Mim at the gates of Nargothrond?
Well, if I'm trying to remember, well, Mim betrayed Huron in various instances, but is it a specific thing?
Is that your final answer?
No. If I remember, because it's very similar to what happened with the Hobbit, and so I believe it was the Curse of the Gold, wasn't it? The Curse of the Gold of Glaurung, is that right?
I'm afraid it's not the right answer. It's because he betrayed Turin, his son.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That Huron kind of seeks vengeance essentially. That's the reason that he gives, and that the gold is rightfully his as a consequence of it being Turin's.
Yeah.
But it's the death of his son, or the betrayal of his son, I should say. I do like this this new name that we've got going. I want to see this in the TV series. We do have another answer, which I guess is kind of true, but that's like I'm talking about efficient causes, not primary causes in this case. JBF.
Well, also, you and I have discussed, haven't we, how there are a lot of implications if we're going to take the tragedy of Turin Turambar and make it a conventional Greek tragedy, because it screws up many aspects of the world building. So I feel any implication of fatalism caused by Morgoth is heresy when it comes to the grander scope of Tolkien lore.
Yes. We'll just have to scrub that, like Martin Luther scrubbed the Book of James from his Bible. So, Vingal, how did Bilbo enable Bard the Bowman to kill the dragon Smaug?
Bilbo. I'm thinking of the. Is it ravens or?
Could you give a little bit more detail
kind of-
about it?
Yes. Well, there are birds on the Lonely Mountain who can understand and speak human or humanoid language. And one of those birds whispers into the ears of Bard that the dragon has a weak spot on its belly.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, because Bilbo, I think Smaug sort of shows his weak side, or he doesn't quite take the situation seriously enough in one of his first encounters with Bilbo, and he sort of boasts somehow and reveals that secret, and it ends up, with Bard slaying the dragon with help from the birds.
Yeah, and it's a thrush that overhears Bilbo telling the
Okay.
dwarves.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is correct. Black Horse.
Okay.
In the Unfinished Tales, which character is captured in Rohan by the Nazgul, and is the character which reveals to them the location of the Shire?
Captured in Rohan and reveals the location of the Shire.
Hmm. So I feel even if you don't know this, I feel
It's
you can
Wormtongue.
work it out.
It's Wormtongue, is it not?
It is Wormtongue. It is Wormtongue.
All
Yes.
roads lead to Wormtongue.
If you don't know,
they,
just
they
guess
go
Wormtongue.
to they go to Isengard and they can't get it out of Sauron, but they capture Wormtongue going back and forth between. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, that's it basically. Because and it kind of makes sense. Like they didn't. The Shire isn't a known location across Middle Earth, so they need to find out some way. If Sauron knew where it was, there wouldn't be much of a. The Shire probably would have fallen at some point. So it's essential that the Shire is hidden, and only somebody like Grima, through the contacts that Saruman has there, would be able to give them that information and be weak-willed enough to give them the information.
Well, I feel that this is, weirdly enough, I feel that this is a carryover from the fall of Gondolin.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Yeah. So even more Grima deep lore right there. Who have we got? Apostolic Majesty. Tom Bombadil has never been caught. But what does Tolkien mean when he says that old Tom caught Goldberry in his poems about Tom?
Sorry, I'm taking too long. Again,
It's
I'm going
okay.
to forfeit.
Think about their relation. What kind of relation are they?
No, I sort of get what you're getting at, but I for some reason I'm at a complete loss for words. So do tell me.
They were married. They got married.
Oh, it's that simple. Sorry, I was looking for something more complex. No, sorry, that was the obvious answer. No, I wasn't looking for. I was looking for something more sort of. Oh well.
Yes. But I was thinking about this earlier watching Das Rheingold, and I really think that Tom is the counter or the opposite of Alberich, and intentionally. Alberich at the beginning tries to catch the Rhine daughters and is unable to, and that's what then leads him.
Oh, that's so perfect because she's the river daughter.
She's the river daughter, and whereas Alberich then chooses power and renounces love, creates the ring, and seeks power and domination, Bombadil actively doesn't even care about the ring. He just cares about loving Goldberry and doing nice things for her. So he's the opposite of
and as
Alberich.
as Gandalf puts it, the ring has no power over him.
Yes. So I feel there's a parallel that could be explored quite a lot there. Yeah. So anyway, that's my Bombadil deep lore for today. Vingle.
Yep.
To earn Thorin's respect, what does Bilbo do when he first sees Smaug's horde?
He brings out. Wait a minute. How is it? I don't think he finds the Arkenstone on the first trip down, but to earn Thorin's respect, what does Bilbo do?
Yes.
When he first sees Smaug's horde. When Thorin first sees the horde, or when Bilbo first goes down?
Bilbo Baggins.
Okay. Well, I think he brings something back. I can't recall
Okay,
what he
well, I'm
brings
afraid I can't
back
give
up
you the
the
point for
tunnel.
that.
No, we
The
can't.
chat has defeated you.
Oh, goddamn. I'm supposed to represent them, but he steals a cup. Okay.
Yes.
I'd
yes.
forgotten the object, but okay.
And of course, this is a Beowulf reference in the poem Beowulf. When he is king, somebody steals a cup from the dragon's hoard, and that's what leads it to wreak havoc upon the countryside and force Beowulf to fight it. And in this case, Bilbo takes the cup, and Smaug goes and wreaks havoc. So it's he's taken that idea from there.
Yeah.
Okay, Black Horse. We've actually just mentioned this, so I'm hopeful you'll get this one. What did Odo Proudfoot yell out during Bilbo's birthday party?
Proud feet.
Indeed. Well done. And it's weird though because so in the book it's Odo Proudfoot, but in the film, for some reason they changed his first name. Let me see if I can find it. Everard or something like that.
You can't have a German name portraying a lovable character.
Yeah, Everard Proudfoot is if I can find him. Yeah, for some reason they decided to call this guy Everard, even though his name's never mentioned in the film. They were just like, no, we can't have Odo. I don't get it.
It's the war against the eternal German. What can I say?
Base Jackson. No. Right, Apostolic Majesty. Who sang Into Being the Two Trees of Valinor?
Okay, well, it's obviously the Valar responsible for nature. And for some reason, again, I should know this, and I'm going to assume it's Yavanna.
It is Yavanna. Well
Finally, finally something.
Yes.
If anything, I was just thinking about your association with Golbery and the Rhine Maidens, and it's fascinating you say that because it just never struck me before. I think it's because it's the first thing when you encounter Rheingold, but it's so obvious now, and it's it's funny because I joke about how much Tolkien ripped off Wagner, but I never realized and never sort of occurred to me in the most elemental way. I think it's because I don't really care for the Tom Bombadil story that much, so I've never sort of been that invested in it. But no, that really is fascinating the more I come to think about it.
Explain yourself.
Can't believe you just said that about Tom Bombadil. I'm almost tempted to dock your point, but I won't.
I think you can dock my point if you want for disrespecting the professor. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Not everybody has to love Bombadil. I've come to accept that reality. But like, have you come across that idea in like Shippy or anything? Because it seems
No.
obvious, but
Well, no, Goldberry, yes. I've often thought of, because obviously, when we're talking about the direct sources, the Rhine Maidens is a Wagnerian invention.
Mhm.
It's not derivative from any of the other sources, and of course, Tolkien's defense against associations with Wagner are always that he was primarily a philologist. So he went to the sagas before he went to Wagner. But in terms of something so obvious like the Rhine Maidens and their connection and the origin tale of the story and the idea of Tom Bombadil as the eldest, the comparison between Albrecht and Tom Bombadil is interesting in terms of being oppositional, but of course Albrecht isn't of the same stuff of Tom Bombadil, but definitely when it comes to Goldberry, I think that's a very pertinent association.
Yeah, it kind of breaks down a little bit when you get into the actual metaphysics of it. I guess Wotan would be closer to Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil is a self-professed anachronism in Tolkien's lore. So it's, anyways.
Whereas Tom Bombadil is a bit, as Black Horse says, a bit of an anachronism. Albrecht is the thread. He is essentially the dramatic thrust of the entire Ring saga in a way that Tom Bombadil is not.
Yeah. I think though the values you find with Tom are the thing that continues. And actually, when you look at
and I think that's why Tolkien left him in, because he so perfectly represents the values that Tolkien wants to associate with good.
Well, the ironic thing is that Tom Bombadil's characteristics are there in the Ring, but they're just expressed through Siegfried, not through Albrecht, which is interesting enough. That the more prominent hero who rejects the Ring is far more prominent in the overall scheme of the story.
Yeah.
And there is also that direct association between Siegfried and the Rhine Maidens as well. So that is a more direct comparison in terms of the characteristics of Tom Bombadil. But I find it interesting, again, this idea of Tom Bombadil being a direct antithesis specifically to Albrecht. But yes, there are definitely characteristics that carry over between Siegfried and Tom Bombadil.
Black Horse, you were going to come in there.
Oh no, I've.
No, that was me. I was just going to say that this conversation reminds me of E. Michael Jones talking about Wagner in relation to Tolkien. And he sort of derides the work of Tolkien. I mean, he doesn't actually deride it, perhaps, but he devalues it in his esteem because it doesn't hold as much clear symbolic value as does Wagner. But I think that's one of the strengths of Tolkien, really, that it's more intuitive, I guess. I don't know how better to put it. But
the interesting thing, Vingel, is that I actually hold the opposite view. I feel Siegfried in many ways undermines the story of the whole Ring, and I feel that he unravels during Götterdämmerung to a point where everything that is set up in Siegfried is somewhat not there or absent in the final conclusion. So I actually feel that Lord of the Rings comes off as a more cohesive story as told through its themes than that of the Ring cycle, which may be very controversial, but I would disagree.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard or read the Ring cycle, but I read the Nibelungenlied, which is really great. But my strength isn't an analysis and picking up on symbolism in the text. It's more of a pure experience, and so Tolkien does both things well.
Well, your other strength, Vingel, is causing chaos in the chat. I know that too. So
I'm trying not to spurg out right now. So,
but Nathan, I'll be very interested if you can note the parallels between Valkyrie and Turinbar, and Siegfried, and the story of Glaurung, and of course the story of Smaug, even down to little aspects like the thrush. Just wait for that.
I'm looking that so I've got this whole week blocked off for holiday, and so I'm working for the rest of the week. I'm going to watch one a day, so I'll look forward to that very much. Vingel, this is your final question of this round.
Yeah.
In the Dagorath, in the 1937 manuscript of it, who is going to slay Morgoth?
This is one of the earlier battles in Beleriand, or in, I believe, but I haven't read the Lost Tales or wherever you have that from in quite a while. So Dagorath. I'm just gonna. I don't think it's too easy, but I'm just gonna say Fëanor.
I'm afraid that's not right. That's not right.
Isn't it Arundel the Mariner? Is it not?
It's
going to sail
either.
Oh,
either. AM, did you want to come in here?
Well, I remember that Arundel was supposed to come back with the Valar and confront Morgoth.
The chat says Turin.
Well, no, I have seen a version of it where Turin is, but I can't remember which version it was. But I have seen a version in which Turin does. So, but then again, if the chat's already got it, then
Yes, the chat is right. It is Turin because this is the final battle.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I believe he will be on the left-hand side of Tulkas, and he will be given the final blow against Morgoth. So there is. I know you don't like the story of Turin-Turinbar in terms of the cohesive whole of, but this is supposed to be some kind of redemption, but it never gets included
well,
anywhere.
no, that is better though. Because that
Mhm.
does go some way to addressing the issues with the children of Hurin, because if it is, because ultimately it means that Melkor is not in control of events. That's my main issue with the tragedy of Turinbar. If he's allowed this aspect of redemption, and he's allowed not vengeance, say, but he's allowed to redeem himself through this heroic action, then it ultimately demonstrates that as part of the music, as part of the design of Eru Ilúvatar, that he does have a role to play, and this was intended. So that goes some way. But as the Silmarillion is written, Som's the final battle. It doesn't work.
Yes. So yes, Black Horse.
I'll just give my sorry, Nathan. Just give my mea culpa to the chat for that one. But I should know the names of the battles and the chronology there. But
Oh, don't worry. It's
I'll
much
try to come
harder.
back stronger.
It's much harder as well when you're doing it live than typing it in the chat.
Yeah.
I think folks could appreciate that. So, Black Horse, your final question of this round. Why do the Blue Mountain Dwarves kill Thingol?
Blue Mountain Dwarves kill Thingol. Oh, because he stole the Nagram necklace. The Naglamir.
The Nauglamir, yes, that's right. Bearing the Silmaril. Although he would claim that it wasn't stolen because they made it for him.
Yeah. They stole it.
Yeah. And of course, Beren has to go off and retrieve it for the Nauglamir because it has the Silmaril in it.
Mm.
And finally, AM. Which character deceives Manwë into thinking that they have repented of their crimes?
Melkor.
That is correct. Which is, I think, it's the only example I can think of where somebody feigns repentance in the whole work.
Sauron feigns repentance at the end
when
of the first age.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wasn't
when-
sure if he feigned it or just kind of didn't go back.
No, so he feigns repentance when he's taken to Numenor,
Hmm.
but not so when he isn't successfully found and judged by the Valar, but when he's taken captive by the kings of Numenor, he feigns repentance in Numenor and corrupts the kings of Numenor.
That's true.
Well, there's essentially the two promises. There is the first, because obviously he's the chief lieutenant of Morgoth, who's defeated at the end of the first stage. He makes a promise, effectively, I believe, to return to Valinor, and never does.
Oh,
and
fair,
there is this 1,000-year period where he's not really appearing to do anything, and then we see the corruption cover of Middle Earth, and then it's part of the condition of his captivity as a result of Ar-Pharazôn's conquest of the coastline of Middle Earth, that he decides to feign this idea of repentance. So technically he does so twice, but obviously with Melkor it was to get into Valinor, and ultimately it would, even though the Silmarils didn't exist at that point, it would evolve into that contest. But as with Sauron, he was trying to get back to Valinor in some weird way, but not in the way that the Valar wanted or intended, especially not Manwë.
Which makes then the burning of the trees and the theft of the Silmarils even more heartbreaking for the Valar.
Well, I keep thinking of that infamous George Lucas quote. It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Oh no!
Oh jeez.
Well, on that happy note, these are the scores following that round. So the champions of chat on 11, Black Horse catching up on 8, and Apostolic Majesty on 5. So we are now moving on to objects and weapons with Finrod. So thank you, Vingel, for joining us. We'll be seeing you again soon.
Yes, sir.
Yep, thank you. And let me welcome on Finrod. Hello, Finrod. How are you doing?
Good evening. A pleasure to be here. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining. It's nice to talk to you. Hear your voice, having seen you in various chats over the years. Could you say a little bit about yourself for those watching, who you are, what your kind of presence is in this sphere?
Well, I just post on Twitter basically. I'm from Finland, so I mainly, or very often, post from a Finnish perspective. And of course, as you know, Tolkien had a particular fascination with Finland, with the Finnish language and the Finnish mythology, and based Quenya on Finnish, and then certain aspects of the legendarium stories as well. So he's quite popular here.
You got the is it the Kalevala?
Yes, Kalevala, yes.
Yes, and he was quite influenced by that. So yeah, it's great to have you here. And this round is objects/weapons. And Black Horse, you won the last round, as it were. So I'm going to let you go first. What was the name of Turin's sword?
Gorthang.
That is correct. That's correct.
Made from a meteor by the Dark Elf.
Yes, yes. And again, like the curse of the ring in the that's Rheingold, whoever has it will be killed by it. And I guess you have the same idea with this sword, right? Whoever has it is going to be killed by it at some point.
Yeah, though it's interesting that curse is never made explicit, right? So, yeah, it's an interesting story. It's worth reviewing in some way.
Yeah. So, Finrod, what was the name of Thorin Oakenshield's sword?
It was the Orcrist.
Orcrist, that's correct. Yep. And that means Goblin Cleaver, which I think is a great name when you're going into the mines of Moria and you've got a sword.
Oh, he didn't have it in the mines of Moria because he gets it.
Of course, yeah. It gets taken from him. Yeah. What was Gandalf's called? Glamdring? Is that right?
Glamdring.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I think
they get both of those swords from the trolls, so that he doesn't have it when he's young. He only has it for the second half of the quest that would claim his life.
Yes, and I think the swords involve one of the first references to the Elder Days, as they are both from Gondolin.
For the quote unquote Goblin Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just summarizing the whole Silmarillion Goblin Wars. Apostolic Majesty, how many Silmarils did Fëanor craft?
3.
3 there were. Yes. Oh, we've got a good start to this round. 3 out of 3, guys. So, Black Horse. What does Saruman accuse Gandalf of desiring along with the keys of Orthanc?
The staffs of the 7 wizards.
So there's... Sorry, I should have been clearer. There's 3 things that I'm looking for here.
Oh,
you get
okay.
3 things, sorry. I should have been clear.
Keys to Orthanc, the staffs of the 7 wizards. Probably the Ring of Power.
I'm going to give you a point because you've kind of blended 2 things together. There's crowns of 7 kings and rods of 5 wizards.
Oh yeah, because there's Radagast, Saruman, Gandalf, and the 2 blue wizards.
Yes, and then there's 7 kings apparently, and then a pair of boots many sizes larger. Which I think is a great addition at the end.
I feel that I've often wondered what that's a reference to, and Seven Kingdoms is obviously England, but I wonder, it does seem like a bit of leftover residue of the untold mythology of England, because in the context of Middle Earth as then, it doesn't really make any sense.
No, not at all. It's just so out of place. Vingle, what are the 3 main types of pipeweed in the Shire? And I'm looking for 3 answers.
I have no idea.
You're not a pipe smoker using
No,
Shire leaf?
I have. I mean, I should know at least some of them, but I mean, gosh, does Old Toby count? Are they like
Old
brand?
Toby is one of them. Old Toby is one.
Okay.
Yeah. Any further guesses?
That's as far as my memory can now help me.
No problem. Black Horse, Apostolic Majesty, any thoughts?
Long bottom leaf.
Yeah, that's one.
Darn,
There's
I should have known that.
There's one further one. Southern Star.
Okay, fine.
Yes. I think I could have got the first 2, but I couldn't remember Southern Star. I don't remember it being mentioned that much.
I think only during the shortage at the when they returned to the Shire.
Yes, and I love how at the end of the story, Merry decides to do like a history of pipeweed and catalog it all and store it in the library. It's just amazing.
Well, it's like it's one of the only innovations that hobbits bring to Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm. Like, you just know, like, if Middle Earth existed like with a YouTube, Merry would have been on YouTube as some kind of autist, creating an account about Shire weed and all the details of it and evaluating it and reviews.
Don't tell me Merry would have a review channel.
I know that would be a dark twist. Apostolic Majesty. What 3 things does the Mirror of Galadriel show? And this is Galadriel's description of it.
Okay. Well, the Shire being destroyed.
Let me just throw back a second, because I don't want you to be misled here. It's in general, what does the mirror show?
In general.
So not specifically to Frodo, but what does Galadriel say the mirror will show to anybody?
Oh, all right. Things that were, things that are, and things that have not yet come to pass.
That is correct, yes. Sorry, I wasn't very clear there. But yeah, 3 points there. So, Black Horse. Who forged the Rings of Power under the supervision of Sauron?
Oh, jeez. Know this in the land that used to be outside of the Moria Gate. The Elven Smiths of Aragion. What's his name? I know his name. Celebrimbor.
That is correct. Well done. Well done. I was really hoping you would get that. You were so close. You were so close. I have mixed feelings about him because I don't know if any of you have played the Shadow of War / Shadow of Mordor games.
I've not, but the story of his story is not so. Like, if you go through the appendices, his story is sort of fleshed out, but I don't feel as though it's a whole story, because he somehow manages to conceal the 3 elven rings, but gives up the location of the other ones, is tortured for, I think, a couple of years before Sauron eventually kills him. But how is it that Sauron completely defeats the entire elven kingdom of Eregion with, like how does he project power there? It doesn't make any sense to me.
In fairness, because we went over the chapter, it is very brief and it is very vague.
Yeah, it's not a story yet.
No, it's a summary or a history account, I guess, rather than like the exact details. But I guess I guess the implication is because he had already submitted in a kind of moral sense, therefore the physical boundaries were open to attack. There's a parallel, I suppose. Whereas other kingdoms which didn't seem to be able to resist. Doesn't make sense in a kind of real world sense, but there's a kind of it's poetry, it rhymes, I suppose, is the excuse, right?
Yes, George Lucas is our guiding star.
Him or Grima Wormtongue. And you're getting support there. Well done, Black Horse.
I have to ask you, Nathan, is there a Grima-esque character in Star Wars?
In Star Wars? A good question.
The black guy.
What Mace Windu?
No, who turns over Han Solo and Luke to Darth Vader.
Oh, Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, although he has a redemption arc,
whereas
Grima has a eating Sauron bun.
See, I think the answer to that, Nathan, is actually Palpatine.
Yeah, I was thinking he's the one that's treacherous and leading people astray.
He's the one whispering into Anakin's ear.
No. It is clearly the gun. What's his name?
Darth Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar, who introduces the emergency powers legislation.
Well, there's all these channels which have theories that he was the real Phantom Menace, and that's where it would have gone, except for the backlash. So yes, Jar Jar. Part of me wants to say C-3PO because he's also whiny and weak-willed, like Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah, but he doesn't pass any. I mean, if the Empire got key information from C-3PO, it's off screen.
That's true. Yeah, I can't think there's no exact parallels. Yeah. In reality, Newt Gunray would probably be closest in terms of personality.
But Newt Gunray doesn't really have a personality. He just sort of accepts orders.
But he's like a bureaucrat, scheming bureaucrat.
I suppose, but he doesn't really scheme. He just sort of executes.
Well, there's a lot of people in the prequel trilogy who are like typecast as scheming bureaucrats, but they never seem to have any plans.
Yes, they're all 2D cutouts waiting for the Emperor to move them. So Finrod. What gift do Frodo and Sam use when attacked by Shelob?
They use the light of Erendil.
Yes, the file of Galadriel. Yes, and this makes the next question for AM very simple. AM, what does the file contain? I didn't think this sequence through, I'm afraid.
I think I'm going to have to forfeit this one, Nathan.
Oh
No, I kid. It's the light.
I will only accept the light of the Silmaril on the prow of Arendil's bow.
Fair. Yeah, that was a bit of disastrous planning there. I'm afraid that was in a previous draft where I expected to be doing like 3 questions in a row for somebody, and I didn't really think that through. So, oh well, you benefited. What a shame! What a shame. That £2 is getting closer to Britain.
What happens when the chat wins?
Yes, what happens? Are you going to send it off to Norway, or are you going to send it off to Finland?
Yeah, or Canada, I think, is Ragnarok as well. So I'll just have to get 3, I suppose. I'll just be broke. So, Black Horse. When we first meet Saruman in the Fellowship of the Ring, what is he wearing?
We first meet Sauron in the Fellowship of the Ring. You're talking about in the books or in the movie?
Yeah, it's all books, no
All
movie
books.
stuff.
All right. So he's wearing a cloak over top of a cloak of many colors. So the
Yeah.
cloak over top of it is a white cloak.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And his coat of many colors. I keep just wanting him in the film to burst into "I wore my coat."
Oh my goodness. I want the rainbow cloak in there just so that it can be a metaphor to the modern usage of the rainbow.
Mhm.
Especially because he bred orcs with goblin men.
Well, we laugh, but people like Tolkien scholars who are pro like LGBT have claimed Saruman as like a Saruman of rainbow colors as their like
But
figurehead.
isn't he like evil?
So, well,
No.
yes, exactly. I mean, he's
Just,
he's
like-
in the pits of Orthanc creating genders.
Yeah, but they broaden this out into he's not accepted by normality.
Oh yeah,
Like-
that's the reason he betrays them.
Yes, but where does the Marxist analysis of the oppressors and the oppressive classes come into this one? How do the dynamics of power fit into this?
Well, you see, Tolkien has a bourgeois morality, and the hobbits have this too. And Saruman is subversive of this, and with his pushing of industry, he's helping the proletariat rise up against the rural bourgeois kulaks.
The proletariat with their 72 genders. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess Grima and Sauron would also have a kind of a Marxist analysis to make them the good guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're the good guys. And I mean, The Guardian did this too, right? Didn't they do an article where there was like Sauron's a hero and
And there was a huge YouTube review series about how that did this, like one of these terminally millennial online things that does film reviews.
It's just like, oh my days, what are these people reading?
I mean, I'm a millennial, but my animus against my own generation is just without bottom.
likewise. Saruman of many colors. Finrod, what did Thingol, king of Doriath, gift to Turin?
Thingol's gift. Was it? Nah, all of my guesses, I know they come from his own house, from his own family. What would have been Thingol's gift? I have to pass.
No worries. AM, did you want to come in there?
Oh, no, it was Anglershell, wasn't it?
The black sword that he got from
No, that's not right. That's not right because he gets that from killing Beleg.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, he gets the dragon helm, doesn't he? Of
The dragon helm. That's right. Yeah, the helm of Dorloman, which his father had passed on to him.
I thought he got it from his father directly. I didn't remember that there was this complexity in between.
Yeah, I think they took his mother and sister took it for safekeeping.
I should have guessed the helm, even though I thought he got it from his father.
That's how it comes to be that the dragon helm rises again, right? Because it's a new person wielding it.
Again, do you see any Wagnerian similarities with this one, Nathan?
Oh well, I'll wait and see. I don't know.
It's already been established by Reingold.
Oh yes, the helmet that Albrecht makes.
Yes, Tarnhelm, and of course, what does Fafnir use to turn into the dragon?
Yeah. So
the literal dragon helm. Yeah.
Yeah. we one day we need to do this. This needs to happen. So, oh, let's see, another daft question coming up. What was atop the helm, Apostolic Majesty?
The likeness of a dragon.
Any dragon?
Glaurung.
Glaurung, yes. Why do you think that was the case though? It's a strange thing to have on a helmet. Your arch nemesis.
I would have to reread the Children of Hurin, but it makes sense though in a way. It's kind of like a bane. The sight of your antagonist to always keep you committed in that quest.
Yeah,
So
it makes sense to me to have your enemy on your weapons.
Yeah. Okay. I'll buy that. Black Horse. What ring do Beren and Aragorn both wear?
The Ring of Barahir.
Yes, got it in one. Finrod. What object does Bilbo give to Thranduil and Bard from Smaug's hoard?
Thranduil and Bard, the Arkenstone.
The Arkenstone, yes. And of course, that's what angers Thorin so much that he expels Bilbo to them. And then finally, Apostolic Majesty, at what age does Frodo Baggins receive the ring?
I'm probably going to get the exact age wrong, but he was about 50, wasn't he?
No, that's incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
That's incorrect. Any other guesses, folks?
53, I think.
No, that's also incorrect. He was actually 33. He gets it at 33.
No, Frodo gets it at 33.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking when Bilbo got it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Did I say Bilbo rather than Frodo?
I mean, it's on tape. Somebody should know.
Can the chat say what I said?
Because Bilbo receives it at 50 when he goes on his quest, just before his
Yeah.
birthday.
That's right. So if I said Bilbo, that's a correct answer. If I said Frodo, that's an incorrect answer.
Apparently you said Bilbo according to Nordhigger.
Well, that's a correct answer. Well done.
Oh dear.
I'm losing it. So that puts you in good stead. So if I save these scores. And coming to the end of this round, let me share the score screen. Halfway through, we have Champions of the Chat on 15, Black Horse on 13, Apostolic Majesty racing up with 11 there. So really tight now, going into the second half. So Finrod, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. And let's see. So next up, we have Ragnarok coming back. Welcome back, Ragnarok.
Hello.
I
Good
think
to
you
be
were
back.
best of the champions of the chat. So
Was I?
Yes. So
a new
strong
power is
back-
rising.
Yes, the time of the orc has come.
Oh, wait. We've just had word in that it was Frodo, I said.
So for some reason Black Horse and I both heard Bilbo. So yes, take 1 point off me, it's fine.
Deduct.
Deduct.
But the chat was also wrong. I don't get it.
Everyone heard Bilbo for some reason.
I'm just gonna go with it. It's in stone now. You said Bill.
Fortified.
I get
First,
to
he
decide
gives
the
him two
exception.
telegraphed questions. All right.
No, it's fine. You can deduct.
I get to decide the exception on this channel, and I decide this way. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes next round. So now we're moving on to places, and Apostolic Majesty, you get the first question. Minas Tirith was the capital of Gondor. But it wasn't always this way. What was the original capital?
Osgiliath.
Osgiliath. Correct. Black Horse. What was the original name of Minas Tirith in Sindarin?
Minas Anor.
Minas Anor, yes. Which I think is Tower of the Sun. Yeah.
Tower of the Sun and Tower of the Moon.
And the two brothers were at one each, right?
Yes, and then the Osgiliath had the Dome of the Stars between the two.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a nice kind of cosmic play across the city.
It's like the pyramids, except, I don't know.
Well, the Dome of the Stars is a reference to Constantinople and Hagia Sophia,
that makes sense. I didn't know
even
that.
though that Constantinople, of course, was the city of the moon. And of course, what Tolkien does, I mean, Osgiliath can be many things, but another obvious thing could be Budapest. Budapest sitting on the Danube, and in that case, Minas Tirith, Minas Anor would be Vienna before 1683. But all of these things are referenced there. But I do believe that the Dome of the Stars is supposed to reference Hagia Sophia.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So Ragnarok. What was the name of the temple that Sauron directed to be built within the city of the Númenóreans?
I don't know if it had a name, but it was the Temple of Melkor, wasn't it? Just.
So it was worship for Melkor.
Yeah.
But it had a specific name.
I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
Anybody else know? Menelaus the Golden.
Oh my goodness.
I thought that was the city's name, wasn't it? Armenelos? That's the capital of Númenor.
I think the temple was called that, but let me double check.
I think the temple was just called the temple.
Yeah, it was just the temple. In the Silmarillion, there was no name for it.
It's not. It would be in the notes. It wouldn't be in the Silmarillion because it doesn't exist by the end of the Silmarillion.
The Silmarillion encompasses the Second Age and the Third Age.
It has the Akalabeth in it.
Yeah,
it's the
and
second
the Rings of
last
Power.
chapter.
Yeah.
Armenelos was the capital at the foot of Meneltarma.
Armenelos, yeah. Armenelos, the Golden is supposed to be the name of the city.
Oh, see, I don't even know my own questions answers. So, fair enough. You're right. The temple is the correct answer. I need to go and correct my own notes here. Black Horse. Where in the mines of Moria was the tombstone of Balin?
The Chamber of Records. It's got a name in Dwarvish.
Mm-hmm.
Mazel something. I can't pronounce it.
Mazel tov. No, Marzabal.
Marzabal.
Yes, but yeah, that's the right answer. After the Dagor Bragalach, where did Sauron found his base of operations in its Sindarin tongue?
Where did he find his base of operations? You mean Sauron? Sauron, not Morgoth.
Yes. Yeah, where did Sauron found his new base of operations following the Dagor Bragalach?
I mean, Morgoth was in Angband. As for Sauron himself, I don't know.
Is that your final answer?
I don't know for Sauron at that time in the First Age. No.
It's the Island of Werewolves. Tol something.
Tol Sirion. Yes, the Isle of Werewolves, which is a great name, super name for it. Ragnarok. Let's see if I can give you a question I actually know the answer to this time. On the banks of the River Anduin, as it passes Tol Brandir, there are two hills with seats upon them. One of them is Amon Hen. What is the other one?
Amon Law.
Correct, correct. And that is the
The Hill of
same
Deer.
name. Is that this? No, it's not the same name as the one that Turin stays on, is it? Is that Amon Root?
That's Amon Ruth. Is the one
That's
Turin's
Amon
on.
Yeah. Okay, Black Horse. Where was Beren from?
Oh, the name of the kingdom that. You're asking for the name of the kingdom rather than the name of the city?
Yeah, the kingdom where his people came from originally.
Yeah, which is near the lands of Finrod on the other side of the mountains across from Angbad. Maybe Dorloman?
You're close, but it's not the right answer.
Yeah.
Is
It's
it
not the right
Dorthonion?
It is Dorthonian, yes, that's correct. I
What
think
is Dorloman?
Hurin is from Dorloman.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Hmm That's the Highlands,
Defeated.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So AM, what place in Birmingham was an inspiration for Tolkien's conception of the Shire?
You and I have discussed this, but as with all of these things, my memory is completely failing me here. Outside of Birmingham, I assume. And in which case, I don't know. If you said inside Birmingham and you ask a different question, I think I would know the answer. But no, not this one. Sorry.
Well, I just said Birmingham, so it could be inside, it could be outside.
No, I don't think it will be the answer. So I forfeit
Go,
again.
go for it. Go for it.
No,
To-
it's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, the answer was Sarehole Mill / Moseley Bog.
Yes, no, I remember you and me talking about it. It was probably a stream. When was it? About 2 years ago, almost, when we did that stream on the places and the Third Age influences. Yes,
That's
I
right.
should remember these things, but as I need to emphasize, I forget as much as I supposedly remember.
Well, don't worry, don't worry. It was I know it well because I grew up in Birmingham and lived quite close to it. And they actually used to run a Tolkien festival every year, where you would go along and you could like shoot arrows at Smorg. You could learn Elvish from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there was like all these activities to do, but then it was a totally voluntary thing, and they weren't able to fund it anymore. And the council, Birmingham City Council isn't interested in Tolkien, even though it could make them loads of money. So it's all kind of died away now, unfortunately.
Such
But,
decline.
That's just awful.
Yeah,
Yes, they have paid the price for their lack of vision.
very much so, very much so. But Sarehole Mill's still there, and you can go and visit it, and it's really great. I managed to get down, and my dream is one day is to have like an in real life Tolkien conference or something like that in Birmingham, and then we spend like an afternoon and go there and see Moseley Bog and Sarehole Mill, and that would be really awesome.
Yes, and of course, just going to Birmingham, we can also be witnesses to the decline also.
Literally the scouring of the Shire.
Mm.
Yeah. On that happy note, Ragnarok. Where did Aragorn capture Gollum?
Wasn't it in? Wasn't it in the Dead Marshes?
That is correct. Yes. Well done. Well done. I mean, it just shows how good a tracker Aragorn was that he didn't get completely lost in there either. Because in the book and the film, it's kind of implied nobody would be able to get through apart from Gollum.
Yeah.
The greatest huntsman of this age.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Nothing could escape him. Black Horse. What was the name of Morgoth's first fortress, not in its Sindarin tongue, but what does it mean?
So you're talking about Angbad, but not in its but in its
Like
what
English
language?
translation. English translation.
English translation. Oh my goodness. I feel like it has to do with steel. Um, I don't know the answer.
So it's Udun or Autumno, and
Oh
it
yes,
mean-
yeah, of course.
and it's underworld or hells of iron, as Tingvang's got it. Yeah. So pretty on the nose again. He's not one for subtle meanings necessarily. That's what I'm discovering through this stream.
I think that's not really fair. I mean, when you deconstruct etymologies and you go into the philology of things, often you're struck by how simple some of the definitions are, but obscure it enough, create your own language, join these words, and you create something entirely new. So I can completely appreciate the simplistic origins of these words.
Fair enough. I was a bit harsh there. That's a bit harsh. AM. What is the capital of the Shire?
Capital of the Shire.
Yes.
I guess Hobbiton.
No.
No.
Black Horse, do you know?
Off the top of my head, no.
Ragnarok?
Mickle Delving.
Yeah.
That is correct, yeah. Which is a strange name. I don't know why. It seems like it doesn't necessarily fit. I get the delving bit, but the Mikkel? Does anyone have any sense of why that
Maybe
is?
a hobbit named Michael or something like that.
No, I mean, remember, nobody knows everything about hobbits. That's what Gandalf says. He's the only one who goes in for hobbit lore, and he hasn't explored all of it.
I think there was a place somewhere in England that had a monastery. It was Mickle something. I don't remember it was a friary or a monastery. But I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Oh well, another mystery for another day. Ragnarok. Where do the eagles leave the dwarves in The Hobbit?
At Carrock.
At the Carrock, yes. Well done. So, Black Horse. Where did Melkor go alone during the music of the Ainur?
Oh, he went searching for the secret fire in the outer darkness.
Yeah, in the void. And that kind of leads him to his introducing his own music into the music.
But he never finds the secret fire and is never able to create life of his own.
No. Futile search.
But perhaps that's where he met Ungoliant.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different theories about Ungoliant. Because I remember I guess it was a stream that we did recently. Was it? Oh no, it was on Praise of Folly. We were talking about how perhaps Ungoliant was a result of the evil introduced by Morgoth into the world and kind of brought into the world that way, or whether she was already there, or a direct creation in some case. It's never. She seems independent of Morgoth, like she's an independent creation.
She's they say she's just a separate spirit in the beginning in the Lost Tales that Melkor meets, but I don't know if that was changed later. If she was living on the other side of the mountains of Valinor in some dark place, some dark valley that I don't remember the name of. But it's interesting. I think she was probably a separate thing. I don't think she was made by Melkor.
No, she was not made by Melkor. She came from the outer darkness. It says so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's interesting that the music of the Ainur creates the world, but it doesn't create the outer darkness, which implies some other creative act.
Yeah.
And so Ungoliant is actually part of a different creation story, not part of the creation of the world, which is interesting.
Then you get into all sorts of things like so there's a long tradition of Adam having a prior wife to Eve called Lilith, and the kind of femme fatale seductress woman in the 19th century, which very much influences Tolkien. And whether in her own way Ungoliant is a version of that would be a...
The femme fatale wife of Morgoth.
Because Morgoth hadn't even dispersed his power at this point. This is when he was still in Valinor and still kind of at the height of his might. And was he really changed between the point when he sang the discordant themes and
but remember, goes to Middle Earth and builds Angband before the collapse of the towers, right?
Yeah, Tumno anyway.
He's dispersed at least some of his power into the world, but not.
Yeah,
as much
I suppose he has.
England.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the music is separate from the act of creation. There is the music, and then there is Ea. There is willing the music into being and creating the world in itself. Then the Ainur, who are now the Valar and the Maya, enter into the world and create Almarin, which is the unscarred world. And Valinor is created after the Battle of Powers, where one can only assume that Melkor had already expended power beyond our own imagination. So by the time we get to Melkor on the first stage, he is very much diminished. As for Ungoliant, again, this is whether, like we can say with Turin Turambar, that this is an oversight or not. And I always feel guilty in a way talking about this, because the Silmarillion is not a published work in the sense that Tolkien himself intended. This is Christopher Tolkien's best adaptation of the works available from his father. And so I wonder if Ungoliant was given a more specific legacy, because of course Ungoliant is vital in terms of the desecration and the rape of the trees, but I feel that Ungoliant had to be created and couldn't have existed prior to Eru Ilúvatar. It's very possible that Ungoliant could be a consequence of the second theme.
Well, the other thing that's kind of interesting, because of who Tolkien was, it's very unlikely that that this is the origin, this is the influence. But it reminds me so much of the Jehovah's Witness idea that there's many worlds, right? So they take from the story of Job that the idea that there's many worlds and many humanities, and we have revelation about one of them. But anyways, I highly doubt that influenced Tolkien, just given the time and place in which he lived.
Yeah. Okay. So, Apostolic Majesty, what city became the capital of Arnor in 861 of the Third Age?
Assuming there weren't multiple capitals of Arnor, I probably got this horribly wrong. Fornost?
That is correct, yes. There was one before that. I can't remember its name, but
Well,
Fornost
Arnor fragmented into several kingdoms as well. So
Numinous was the one before it.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been Numinous was the capital of Arnor, but was Fornost ever actually the capital of Arnor, or was it not the capital of one of the three successor kingdoms?
I think
Cardilia.
The plague that Sauron sent out in the middle kind of they lost the amount of people to people the city of Numinous, so they all just moved to Fornost because it was closer to the witch realm of Angmar. So
yeah,
I think
that happens.
Unless it was Arthedain that moved the capital, it might have been.
That's when it was the capital, yeah.
Because at that point, it's not Arnor anymore. It's Arthedain, wish I could pronounce these words. Cardilin and the third successor kingdom.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
More fault with the question. More fault.
That's close enough. Arthedain was the direct sort of... It was the first of the three sons, I guess you could say.
The chat is asking for the current scores.
They'll be up shortly. Yes, we're at the very end of this round, so we've got one final question. Ragnarok. On which peak can you find Durin's Tower?
Oh. Is it Zurich Zigal or something like that? Or is it Zigal Zurich something? It was the dwarf name that I remember. I don't remember the elven name for it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's Sirac Zigil.
Yeah.
Surex Sigil. Yes, where Gandalf fights the Balrog. So if I can put these in. Right. So scores coming up. Give me a second. So the champions of the chat are on 20. Black Horse keeping in touch with 16, and Apostolic Majesty in with 13. So, AM, you want to come in there?
Oh, I said something in the private chat about 20 minutes ago that that I can stay until 9, and it's 9 now. I thought I had if because I assume that other champions of the chat are in, if they want to continue and maybe get the credit if they do sort of snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. But if anyone wants to come and replace me, then they're more than welcome to.
Okay. Well, thank you, AM, for joining us. It's much appreciated, and I always enjoy having you on. And I hope you go well this evening, and we'll catch up again soon.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
No problem. Have a good evening.
Nice
Good
to
night.
speak with you, AM.
Bye.
Well, champions of the chat, are one of you willing to be AM for the rest of the show?
I'll leave it to Vingle and Finrod if they want to, and if they don't, I can take over.
Well, we'll give them a minute just to think about it. It might work best actually if you played as AM Ragnarok, because Vingle and Finrod are down for the next 2 rounds.
Oh,
So that might work best.
yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
So
If they have no objections.
I think that makes sense. Besides,
Yeah.
it puts you in the losing position, which is what you deserve.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Well, let's go with that then. So I'm going to invite Finrod back in. Hello, Finrod. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Super. And so this round, we are doing the philosophy of Tolkien. And so you can have a bit more of an expanded answer to the question, but there's, some don't require it. Some, I'll take it, the point that you're making as the issue. So let's see. Finrod, what term did Tolkien coin to describe the great reversals in fairy stories?
The eucatastrophe.
Yep, that's correct. That is correct. Black Horse. In a late essay, Tolkien described Morgoth's ring. What is Morgoth's ring?
I have no idea. I've never read Morgoth's Ring.
Can you have a guess at all?
The Iron Crown on which he set the Silmarils.
I'm afraid that's not the answer. Anybody else know?
Is it Middle Earth itself, the whole world?
Yes, that is right. Can you
that makes
expand
sense,
upon
yeah.
that?
Because he put his power into the world instead of
Mhm.
the way that Sauron put his power into the ring.
Yeah, so that he says there's an analogy there. But then the problem is, whereas you can destroy Sauron or defeat Sauron ultimately by
Yes,
destroying
you
the
can't
ring.
defeat the Earth.
Yeah, so it requires a new heaven and a new earth essentially to come about. So it's very
Which is the whole
eschatological.
the whole new theme in the music of Iluvatar.
Right, exactly. So it's quite an interesting idea, and it ties in as well with his distinction between. He sees 2 kinds of magic in Middle Earth. One is magia, which is like the immediate control over the physical world, and Gotir or Goitia, which is control over minds and wills. And whereas Morgoth desires complete control over everything, and so imbues himself within everything, Sauron wants control over minds and wills, and so that's why he's not about destruction of the other. He just wants their submission. So it's quite an interesting essay. I'd encourage everybody to read that one too. Morgoth's Ring is a great book. Herald of AM, aptly named. What gifts did Iluvatar give elves and men, respectively?
Well, he gave the elves everlasting life bound to the earth itself, and men he gave the gift of death, which so that they could leave because their destiny was not tied to the earth nor to Valinor or anywhere else. It was something beyond their even the Valar's understanding.
Beyond the walls of the world.
Yeah, they didn't know where they were going to go, or Iluvatar didn't reveal it yet. If ever at all.
Yep, that's correct. And,
I think this is a very interesting point. So theologically, I think Tolkien was troubled by this, and many of his readers were, because this is a sort of an anti-Christian or a Christian idea that death is a positive, it's a gift. When in Christian theology, death is a curse. It's a sign of brokenness.
Well, and that would give you more sympathy, I think, for the Númenóreans, who are troubled by the prospect of death. And in the world, it's kind of, this is a gift, and they should be more content with it. But in our world, that, as you said, it's a curse, not a gift. So I think there's a little bit of a destruction for the reader then, because they're being told one thing, but it's actually another thing.
Yeah, and I think Tolkien himself was sort of conflicted about this later in life. I think he tried to square this circle, but ultimately there is no real answer, I don't think.
I think he might have been trying to separate the destiny of man in some way to actually, I don't know, almost link it back to our world. He's saying that the men of, before any of the stuff was ironed out fully, he was saying that the men are akin to us in our world more than, and the elves are just completely otherworld, and Middle Earth is otherworld. But the men of Middle Earth might have had some connection to us, the readers.
I think, you mentioned earlier in Morgoth's Ring, there's this dialogue between Finrod and the woman, and they talk about exactly this, about how mankind fell, and even the best Edain that we meet in the story are already fallen, but as the details of the fall, it's not explained.
Well, and there's also this kind of weird indication when you start reading the way that the Lord of the Rings is written, that it's like a prehistory or a mythic history of the men of Britain, right? These magical things have passed out of the world. Anyways.
Yeah, so Finrod, why was the forging of the Rings of Power blasphemous in Tolkien's view?
Blasphemous. I think it had to do with the distinction of the two types of magic, and this was this sort of Goetheia type of magic where you try to gain control over the natural forces.
I can't accept that as an answer. I think you're heading towards the track, but you're not close enough to his answer to that question. Right. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
It was something to do with how the rings themselves, the elven rings, kind of gave they extended the life and stopped atrophy and decay from happening within the world that they were bound to within the realms of the elves, and that was unnatural because the elves should want to go off to Valinor and do it there. They shouldn't be lingering on the earth because the earth is for men, or at least it would have been for men for a while.
Yeah, so I think you're there really. It's he says they're trying to build paradise on earth, and bringing the immortal into the mortal realm. So yeah, that's for him is the key. Why he explicitly uses the word blasphemy. Black Horse. What for Tolkien is the special danger associated with subcreation and craftsmanship?
Subcreation and craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worship of the created rather than the creator, right? So it's falling in love with your creation the way that Fëanor fell in love with the Silmarils and loved them more than the source of the light. It's the way that the dwarves fall in love with the works of their hands, etc.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's he would use the word possessiveness or a possessive love of
Yeah.
these things.
Love not the work of your hands or the craft of your heart, and because true hope lies in the west or beyond the sea. Is what
But
he
it's
said.
not, yeah. But it's even true, like beyond the sea, right? Fëanor falls in love with the Silmarils, and there's this great moment in the Silmarillion when they're standing in front of the destroyed tree, and Varda says that she can rehabilitate it with the light of one of the Silmarils. At the time, none of the characters know that the Silmarils have been carried off by Morgoth, but Fëanor is given the opportunity to volunteer one. They give him a whole day to contemplate this choice because he can't ever create them again, and he refuses, which is part of a key part of his curse.
Yeah, tragic.
Whereas in contrast, Aule, he creates the dwarves or subcreates
And he
the dwarves.
prepares to smash them with his hammer at the command of, and is given as a consequence of this life to his creation.
Yeah, which is I think that's a beautiful story. It's really quite moving. Herald of AM. Why did Éowyn desire to be loved by Aragorn?
My mind is defaulting to the movies. I can only really give. She wanted to be. I guess she wanted to be freed or something like that, but I don't know. From her,
I think
her power, as she called it, but I don't remember exactly in the book.
You're on the right lines, but it's not close enough for me to give you that.
No, that's
fair. Black Horse, you kind of mentioned this to me on Twitter, actually.
Yeah, it's because she wants to capture the greatness of, like, she wants to participate above her station. So Éowyn is the daughter of a middleman in the world, and she wants to participate in the glory of Numenor, in the bloodline of Numenor. And so she sees the kings of Numenor incarnate, and she desires to participate with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think she even uses the words of glory and renown to describe what she really wanted.
That's correct.
With Aragorn. Yeah. Which on the one hand, these aren't necessarily ignoble, but when it becomes the predominant reason for doing something, and this is something that we see with Tolkien in his commentary on the Battle of Maldon, actually, he has this very strong critique of characters who will do things which are dangerous just for glory rather than because they're the right thing to do. In Middle-earth, it's not as big of an issue as it is, in his view, in Anglo-Saxon mythology. So he would criticize Beowulf for this, fighting Grendel without any weapons because it's fairer rather than because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, mirrored perfectly in The Last King of Gondor, who goes to Minas Morgul to fight Sauron in personal combat.
Which is... Sorry, go ahead, Finrod.
Yeah, this is a kind of a conflict or a tension between Christian virtue and pagan virtue, where those two things meet in Middle-earth in certain ways, that there are these points where they come in conflict, especially in Rohan with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think that's right, and it's an interesting one. I'm going to do a stream on it in a few weeks' time with Scott Mannion and Rupert August, so we'll be getting into this issue in much more detail there. Finrod, Why is Sam able to resist the ring at Cirith Ungol?
Why is he? Well, what motivates him is a willingness to live for another person. What motivates him is essentially love of his friend. So that overriding motive, possibly combined with the sort of simplicity of his character.
Yeah, I would take that answer as right, because it's, as you say, love of his master Frodo, and a sense of his own purpose and abilities in the world. I think it's even put that although he wants to create Mordor into a garden, which is such a lovely ambition out of all of them, he's only big enough to tend his own garden.
And he's sort of like a super hobbit. He has the incorruptibility of hobbits in the purest form out of all the characters we have.
Very much so. But what I find interesting, to go back to what we were talking about with Bombadil doesn't say these things, but he too, it's out of love for Goldberry and a sense of his own limitations. He's limited to his little world. And we see the same idea with Sam coming through in his resistance of the ring. So these two value streams kind of get carried through later in the text. Black Horse. What character does Gandalf attribute credit for Bilbo's finding of the ring?
Aha. So sorry, what character does Gandalf attribute? Character is in person?
Yeah, so Gandalf says that Bilbo's finding of the ring was down to another character.
I mean, he says he's meant to have it, which is a direct implication that it's a consequence of the will of Iluvatar.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Yeah,
that's the right answer. Because he says there was another power at work.
Yes, but he doesn't say the name, right? He implies Iluvatar. He doesn't say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Fine.
I'll accept that. I think it's pretty meant.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. It gets into knotty questions, and I think in a way the secular scholars who do this don't get too worried about it. It's the people who have theological beliefs about free will and predestination already who get concerned about the exact relationship of Iluvatar's will.
As I emphasized on Twitter, I am Calvinist Santa. All right.
Yes, I think the reform perspective deals with this quite well.
I kept seeing a lot of articles that would try and say like a lot of the things that happened in Lord of the Rings or any of the other ones were just attributed to luck. They would use luck as a word, rather than grace or predestination or anything like that. Providence, yeah, exactly. There's something not right about that.
Well, particularly when at the end of The Hobbit, Gandalf actually says to Bilbo, "Do you think it was all just luck?" And kind of says, he implies there was something else going on, that Bilbo could have achieved all of these things. It wasn't just luck. So the fact that people do that is very, very frustrating. Okay, Herald of AM. By whom does Andreth claim, in dialogue with Finrod Felagund, that the marring of Arda will be undone?
Could you repeat that?
Yes. By whom does Andreth claim, in dialogue with Finrod, that the marring of Arda will be undone?
I want to say Manwë.
That's incorrect. It is Iluvatar incarnate. Finrod. Which character receives the stories that form the Book of Lost Tales from the elves?
Bilbo.
That's not the answer I was looking for. might be a correct answer in a different sense. But in terms of the lost road, let's put it that way.
Is it the elf wine, the mariner character?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Black Horse. Quote or paraphrase the Bible verse Tolkien used to characterize the failure of Frodo.
Oh. Failure of Frodo. What you meant for evil, God purposed for good.
I'm afraid that's not correct.
Yeah.
It is lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
I took a stab.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Ragnarok. Why did Tolkien say that Frodo's failure was not a moral failure?
Why was it not a moral failure? Because perhaps the will of Sauron was greater than his, so there was some compulsion there, or I don't know.
You're so close, but I can't give you that. It's Frodo did his best, is what he says, and because he did his best, there's nothing to kind of judge him on that front.
Yeah.
He couldn't have done any more. Finrod. In letter 246, Tolkien speculates on the possibility of Gollum's repentance. What, in his view, prevents Gollum's potential repentance?
What prevents it? I think it comes down to selfishness, kind of the opposite of what prevented Sam from becoming corrupted. It's the polar opposite with Gollum. There's basically nothing left but his self-centeredness.
That would be a broader answer, but it's unfortunately it's not the answer from this letter that I'm looking for. So when Gollum's at Cirith Ungol with the others on the stairs of Cirith Ungol, there's a moment where he's kind of looking fondly at Frodo and Sam, and Sam wakes up and basically like calls him stinker or something to that effect. And Tolkien says it's Sam's failure to note the tone and aspect of Gollum which blights his potential repentance at that moment.
I'd completely forgotten that.
It's a pretty obscure part of the letters, to be fair. To be fair, it's not in the books or anything.
There's some pretty serious deep lore in this quiz.
I've never read any of this. I'll just be honest here. So,
Hey,
I haven't read the letters, but this was a detail that I had no recollection of.
I mean, I got my own questions wrong earlier, so take it all with a pinch of salt. Black Horse, if Gollum had repented, what does Tolkien suggest he would have done at the crack of doom?
See, this would be a good time to have read this letter. I think Tolkien would suggest that that if Gollum had repented, then he would not have contested for the ring, and so the ring would not have been destroyed.
It's almost the opposite, actually. He thinks Gollum would have still taken the ring because it's overpowering at that point. But once taken the ring, he will have realized the evil of the ring, and the only way to keep it from Sauron is to destroy himself. And the only way to serve Frodo or love Frodo is to destroy himself with the ring. So he would voluntarily throw himself in to the fire below.
that would have been a beautiful ending, you know.
It would have been.
I much prefer the ending where no one does the right thing and it falls.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. There's a kind of, it shows that there's something else beyond it all, and also
Again,
the
this is
self-destructive stuff of
this
evil.
is Calvinist.
The reformed crew are loving
There
it.
is no good in him, not even one.
Based Tolkien. Secret Calvinist Tolkien. Herald of AM. What did Tolkien famously say evil cannot do?
Cannot create. Can only
That is
destroy.
correct. Yes. So we've come to the end of the penultimate round, and let me bring up the score page. So we have Champions of the Chat on 22, Black Horse on 18, and Herald of AM on 16. And somehow I've managed to add a new player. I'm not sure how. And they're on 0. So, yes, so we've got one final round left. And let me say thank you again to Finrod for joining us. Thank you
Thanks.
for tuning in.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been great to have you. And hopefully one day again you'll get to come onto the show. But I'm going to now invite Finrod on. Vingle on. So let me add Vingle. Hello, Vingle. Can you hear us again?
I can. Thank you for letting me back in.
Oh, no problem. You needed to be here for the final round. So
Sure.
we're now doing Beyond Middle-earth. So the questions don't relate to anything with the Middle-earth legendarium. They're stories and other materials. So let's see. Herald of AM. In
Okay.
Leaf by Niggle, what is the name of the gardener who lives next door to the artist, Niggle?
I've never read it, Nathan, so I'm going to have to just just let it go.
Anybody else know this one?
Go with Sam, the gardener.
Sorry,
I can't
AM.
recall.
It's not Sam, it's Parish. Parish the gardener.
All right.
It's a good guess, though, Sam. Black Horse. By what means does Farmer Giles scare off a giant? This will show if you've been watching my videos or not.
Wow. I'm sorry to say I've not watched this video, whichever one.
Ah, Rumble.
Probably some loud sound.
You're kind of close. He falls over, and as he does so, he fires a blunderbuss into the giant's eye. And the giant isn't really hurt, but he's like, "Oh, I've been stung by a bee," and wanders off. It's a good story. It's a good story. Vingle, in his essay on the Battle of Maldon, Tolkien discusses the term offer mode. What is offer mode?
It is. I can't recall the exact word, but it's over courageousness. Being, I think. Being
Yeah, you're on the right lines.
We
it's
have.
over...
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Vingle.
I'm having some perhaps translation difficulties because we have the word in Norwegian overmot.
Okay.
And it's the same word.
Well, I will give you that answer. It is overweening or over desire for glory. So it is very much this over sense that you were trying to get across.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
So Ragnarok. Relatedly, what is for Tolkien Northern courage?
Sorry, no chance. I haven't read it.
You're missing out. Northern courage is courage in the face of sure death.
You know,
yes.
So
maybe Finrod might take over this round. If is that possible, Nathan? Because I haven't read this stuff at all. Is it? You think you let him in, or you want me to keep going with it? I'm not going to do AM any favors here, unfortunately.
What do you feel, Black Horse? Are you happy with that?
It's up to him. Whoever Finrod
He
says he
doesn't
doesn't
think
think
he'll
he
do
can do
any
any better.
Oh,
Okay, well we'll stick with
All right.
Ragnarok then. Don't worry.
I'll try my best, but
Don't worry, you've been killing it for the whole show, so nobody's going to think any less of you for this. Yeah, it's what Black Horse was saying. It's that trope you find in the Hall of the Lord of the Rings of, you're just about to be defeated, and you still stand courageously.
they call
Yeah,
this
it's not
Northern
even-
Courage.
Not even just about to be defeated. It's you've acknowledged that you're no longer going to.
Mm.
You no longer have a chance to win, but you decide that you're going to strike anyway.
Yeah.
Like the classic example is I think it's Mary who decides to stab the king of the Nazgul, even though he has no hope that he's going to survive the situation.
Tolkien even uses Ragnarok as an example.
Huh.
He says the gods, even though they know they're going to lose, Odin doesn't just sit there and take it. Like he's got his own army ready to go and fight it.
Ragnarok has a continuation after it, though. It's kind of a new beginning. There's, I think, a couple of the gods might survive, but they sort of wane and fade, and men take over.
Yeah, but
I love the idea of killing the gods, by the way.
yeah,
it is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Black Horse, what did Tolkien say was more real than a motor car?
More real than a motor car. A fairy story.
I mean, you're on the right lines, but it's a dragon, which I think is an epic answer. He also apparently used to drive down the road screaming "charge" at the cars, and would go as fast as he could.
Oh my goodness.
It's just epic. Vingle, in his lecture on Beowulf, why does Tolkien say? In his lecture on Beowulf, what does Tolkien say that Grendel is hostile to?
I've been saving that lecture for later because I haven't read Beowulf yet. But
No.
yeah, I have Tolkien's translation of Beowulf, and I plan to read it very soon, but I'm gonna have to pass.
It is humanity itself. So it's not just one tribe, it's a threat to all human life, is what he would say. Ragnarok. In his lecture on fairy stories, Tolkien identifies 3 functions of fantasy. What are these 3? And you get a point for each one.
I don't know it, Nathan. Sorry. I even watched your, I think it was either AM's stream or yours, and I don't remember anymore.
That's okay. It all just faded into the distant past.
Yeah.
Recovery, escape, and consolation are the 3. Black Horse. Who were the primary members of the Inklings besides Professor Tolkien? And again, I'm looking for 3 people, 3 marks.
3 people, 3 marks. So Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. You've exhausted my actual knowledge. Oh my goodness. I'm out of. I can't think of anyone right now besides the 2 of them.
So
might
the
know one other.
Go ahead.
I think it was wasn't the guy who did the Prydain Chronicles in there with them, or was it? Or no,
Well, I'm
maybe
not sure. So the other 2 major figures are Owen Barfield, who was a philosopher, and Charles Williams, who wrote a number of novels as well. But him and Tolkien really didn't get on. they were pleasant with each other, but Tolkien was just like, "What is this guy on about?" It was only because C.S. Lewis liked him that he got to be there. Yeah, read it. There's a great biography of the Inklings by Humphrey Carpenter, which goes into all of these sorts of relationships. Vingle, while at King Edward School, Birmingham, Tolkien, with his friends Rob Gilson, Geoffrey Bache Smith, and Christopher Wiseman, formed a semi-secret society with the initials TCBS. What did this stand for? And again, you get 3 marks, a mark per keyword.
Well, I've read this in Carpenter's biography, but I cannot recall. So
You cannot
I think I'll
recall.
just pass instead of, huh?
No problem. It is
Yeah,
the
that's
Tea Club and Barovian Society,
okay. I wasn't gonna remember that. So.
which is a pretty amazing name. Ragnarok. Which character was Tolkien's wife Edith the main inspiration behind?
Luthien.
Yes, and if you go to his gravestone, I believe Beren and Luthien are
Luthien, yeah.
on the gravestone. Black Horse. As which mythical character did Tolkien write letters to his children? Any thoughts?
Sorry. I had to mute myself for half a second. Can you repeat the question?
Oh yes, certainly. As which mythical character did Tolkien write letters to his children?
Oh. Grendel?
I'm afraid not. It was Father Christmas.
Basically the same thing.
Is it?
Of course
No.
not.
I thought I was really missing something there.
You're missing that I haven't read this letter.
No. I thought you might get it with the Christmas spirit and all that. Vingle. Earlier on, we heard that Tolkien identified recovery as a key function of fantasy. What is recovery?
I'm not sure about this one at all. Feels like it should be in the philosophy section, but I don't know. I thought it was basically all degeneration but that's in Arda, I mean. But so yeah, I'm just gonna pass this one as well. Disappointing.
No problem. Recovery is the way that a fairy story helps you to see things as they are, not in an illusory way. So, for example, the Ents show us that trees are not just inanimate objects with no life, but they actually have a life of their own, independent from us. So that's what he kind of means by recovery. Herald of AM. Which character in C.S. Lewis's Perelandra series was based on J.R.R. Tolkien?
Didn't read it, don't know.
It's Elwing Ransom, who is a pretty awesome character. But by the 3rd book, he's actually based on Charles Williams, and he forms a little society against the technocratic, bureaucratic regime.
I feel like this section might have been AM's chance to catch up because he's probably read all this crap.
Probably, yeah. It's a shame that you had to go. Black Horse. What is the name of the dragon who ravages the countryside in Farmer Giles of Ham?
Farmer Giles of Ham. More stories I haven't read. More guessing. can't even posit a guess.
It is Chrysiphylax.
Well, my guess was definitely not going to hit that. So
No problem. No problem. And then finally, we have the final question for Vingle. 354 of Tolkien's letters have been published, and many of them to his American editor of The Lord of the Rings. Do you know the name of this editor?
The person?
The person,
Of course,
yeah.
it's a person. I was thinking Houghton Mifflin before you ended the question. He has a Germanic, perhaps even Jewish name, but I think. But I might be mixing that up with something else as well. But no, I'm not even gonna set
Not
for a
going to
try.
try.
No.
It is Milton Waltman or Waldman. Is,
Yeah,
his name. Yeah, so you were kind of in the right zone. But
that
yes,
was the guy, but I couldn't recall.
so that leaves us with our final scores, and if I can bring it up. So in third, hearty score of 17 for Apostolic Majesty / Herald of Apostolic Majesty. Black Horse, 19 points, second place. But the champions of the chat, the Truckerai, have conquered with 23 points. With 23 points. So well done to the chat. Let me bring Finrod back on. Well done, Vingle, Finrod, and Ragnarok. Congratulations.
I'm thoroughly impressed with your memory of names. You defeated us all basically on that first round.
Well,
Basically, yeah.
thank
That's
you.
where
Well, you had
It's-
that question where you could have gotten like 6 points, and AM and I both completely flubbed our version. And you cleaned up, so that was
I
the
read
difference.
the Silmarillion like 3 days ago, just getting it all done while I had the time.
I was so jealous of AM. I could have gotten all of those, but
I was astonished by Ragnarok's memory. I mean, he just had all the answers ready. When you knew something, you just knew it immediately.
Thank you.
But yes, thank you to you all for playing. We and I think everybody did pretty well, to be honest. This wasn't an easy quiz, and everybody got some decent answers. So well done. Just one super chat tonight for $10 from Nord Huger. Thank you very much. He says, thank you for all your help, Nathan CJ Hood. Good luck to the contestants. # Team Finrod. So you've got a little fan there, Finrod.
Nice.
And everybody should check out Nord Hugger's channel. He did a video recently on a Nietzschean critique of Batman, which was excellent. And I'll be on his channel at the weekend for a video on Saxon mythology. Black Horse, is there anything you would like to promote?
Well, every other week I'm on with Radlib on his channel doing econ minis, which is kind of the most prominent thing that I've been doing lately. Other than that, I'm looking at a stream regarding. So I've been doing some fairly intense study of political violence at the moment and the role of political violence, the scapegoating mechanism as explicated by Rene Girard, and the role of forgiveness and the Christ myth in the end of political violence. I'm trying to figure out which channel I'm going to have this stream on. But anyways, I in the next couple of months I'm going to publish something on that.
That'd be great. We'll all look forward to that.
If you follow my Twitter, you can see the IRA deep lore being posted.
Oh, definitely, and everybody should follow Black Horse's Twitter. He got to 1,000 subs, so now we need to get him up to 2,000 followers. That's my ambition, anyway. Ragnarok, is there anything you would like to promote?
Nothing really. Just wanted to say subscribe to Nathan, Black Horse, AM, Finrod, and Vingle. They put a lot of effort into doing this, and especially Nathan getting all the questions together. Thanks, Nathan. That's it.
You're too kind, but everybody should subscribe to your channel. I've been enjoying your recent Star Wars playthrough.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a bit cringe, but yeah, thank you.
Finrod, is there anything you would like to promote?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's you can find the link from the YouTube description of the stream.
Yes, and everybody should go there and do that. And Vingle, what about you?
Yes, I have a humble YouTube channel, just past 500 followers, and I post, I guess, odds and ends of folk music and archival footage from Appalachia or Louisiana, a lot of Nordic and British folk music in particular. And, not to go on too long, but medieval, Renaissance, Baroque, classical music, some historical footage relating to World War II once in a while. And yeah, so I think there's something there for anyone who likes European culture, really.
Yeah, and it's something a bit
one video.
well, and something a bit different from logical analysis, right? So music and so on, which is always good to kind of get into. So for myself, I just want to let everybody know I'll be streaming every week, Tuesdays from now on. And with membership, there's going to be a slight change. Members will now get the opportunity to choose the topic for one of the streams per month. I know I'm allowing democracy on the channel. It's a terrible idea, but there will be an opportunity to pick what you want to see in one of the Tuesday shows. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to have a voice in what kind of content I'm making, go and support the channel. In the meantime, all that remains for me to say is thank you again to all of my guests. It's been great to have you all on, and I think it's been good fun. And I've learned a lot. I've learned all of the mistakes that I have in my understanding of the law, and
how we're all dreadful at the last category.
Yes, we need to do much more reading about the rest of Tolkien's life and works. But yeah, and I hope everybody else has had good fun. In the meantime, have a good evening wherever you are, whoever you are, and God bless you. Good night, everybody.